Welcome to the podcast, Kirk with Idaho Town Car.
How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Congrats on being voted Idaho Bride's favorite car service. How does that make you guys feel?
You know, it's always a good feeling. You know, it's always a good feeling to know that, we're recognized for the hard work that we put into it. So it's awesome. So.
I know that you thought I was a scam.
Sure did. Sure. Well, you got to understand, there's a lot of people, that are trying to scam other people, and it's like, this lady out of the blue says we won something. I'm like, yeah, sure we did.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. What convinced you that I was real?
You called me.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
It wasn't just an email.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I live here in so-and-so zip code. I was like, okay. All right.
It's
maybe
real.
This lady is real. Yeah.
I know, because I would email you and then you wouldn't say anything. And I was like,
yeah.
I bet you he thinks I'm not real.
100%. Yeah. I mean, when you deal in, we've been in business a long time.
Yeah.
And so I've been in business a long time, even before this. And it was kind of like, I know where to gauge and when not to engage. And it's like,
she's persistent.
like, man, this is one persistent scam, dude.
Oh, do you know the story behind the business name Idaho Town Car?
So Idaho Town Car is relative to, to the business itself, right?
Yeah.
So there's no real significance other than a marketing and advertising strategy behind that.
That's fair.
So that was the reason why the owner, David, chose Idaho Town Car, was to make it more relative to what we do.
That's fair. How many cars are in your guys' fleet?
We have 12 currently.
Okay.
We have 12 vehicles in our fleet, with hopefully adding 2 more.
That's exciting.
Vintage cars.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Like one's a Jaguar and the other is a Bentley. So
oh wow,
yeah,
that's
we do
exciting.
have 3 vintage cars already.
What are they?
So we have a 1957 Bentley. Really, really cool. Very popular for weddings.
Yeah.
It just seems to be that's the case. It's not just exclusive to that. But so outside of that, we also have a Rolls-Royce, 52 Rolls-Royce, and a 1937 Cadillac.
Oh, wow.
Like one of those really cool, like those mafia cars.
Yeah.
And the guys would ride on the sides with their Tommy guns, dude.
That's sick.
Super cool. Like when I first saw them, I was in shock myself. I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like I could consider putting on a little, round top hat deal on. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Really cool to see the cars when you first see them. So.
What other kind of cars do you guys have?
Yeah, so we have stand-up limousines. We call them party buses.
Yeah.
Really cool. When you walk inside, there's lights illuminating throughout. We have ceiling, floor, mid lights. We also have there's audio and lights in all of our vehicles except for our town cars. So when I'm describing this, it's kind of like describing all of our vehicles with lights and visual. We have TV screens. Even some of our vehicles have karaoke.
Oh, fun.
Super cool. Like if you want to take it out on the town, it is a lot of fun. And so we have a 9-passenger, 14-passenger, and a 20-passenger party bus. So for the bigger groups, we want to make sure that they're taken care of. We also have 2 stretch limos, one 14-passenger, one 9-passenger.
Wow.
One's white and one is like this really cool sky blue.
Yeah.
Like when you first see it, it's like, yeah, that's it right there. Like if you were envisioning being in a car, that would be it. It's really cool. Outside of that, we have our town cars. We have a Range Rover, a Lincoln Navigator. We also have a Lincoln Navigator mini stretch, a Mercedes S-Class. So really, it's kind of like those, you're getting that private, high profile, vibe, but you're not spending, an arm and a leg just to try to get to the airport.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So like case in point, I was just researching the other day, talking about price points.
Mhm.
And I was looking at, because I was curious, because, my wife and I were going to a trip in California.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I wonder how much it is for a town car.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I do it here. I know what the prices are here. What's it out over there? It's triple.
Really?
It's over $400
Oh, my God.
for a 15-minute ride. I couldn't believe it.
That's in what part of California?
So San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going over there to go beach it up. So.
Oh, fun. So, if you're comfortable talking about this, I can cut it out if you're not. But for couples looking for that in this area, what would be like a typical price range, just so that they know what they're looking for? Like if something's too high or too low, like be wary.
Yeah, I guess where we are at, and even with our competitors, we are fairly priced. Like let's just say you wanted a ride to the airport in one of our vehicles, 3 a.m., 11:50 p.m., whatever it may be, it's the same price pretty much all the way around. Sometimes there's going to be a red eye price, it just depends on the circumstance. But what does that look like, right? What is the price point for that? So we charge $125 an hour.
Okay.
And that's for our town cars. And that doesn't include gratuity, but it includes everything else. We usually have a bottle of water in all of our vehicles. And the privacy, you get that privacy aspect of it, you're treated like a millionaire or billionaire, that's the persona we want to give you. Like that's the, you know what I mean? Like we want you to feel valued.
Other than getting picked up in a sketchy ride, third party.
Yeah. Let's call an unknown app and see what car shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that aspect, right?
Yeah.
Like what you're getting up front. There's nothing hidden about it. Our prices are all over our website too. Like, it's. And here's the thing, I guess, going into price points, where we were at, which we've been in business for 12 years. We've been established since 2012. I guess almost coming up into 13 years now, but, prices just weren't what they used to be. We're coming into a new era for Boise, Idaho, and the Treasure Valley as a whole. I've lived here my whole life, but I've traveled throughout the United States in my, because I used to own a moving company.
Oh yeah,
and moving and painting company, and I used to travel to Virginia and Texas and California multiple times to California.
Yeah.
Farthest I've gone so far. Well, I've been to Florida a good 20 or 30 times.
Driving?
Yeah.
Insane.
Right. Yeah. Well, people want to move from here to Florida, and I was like, sure,
I'll do it.
I'll do it. Yeah. Oh, you want me to tow your car behind you? You got it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got a lot of experience in driving and the mechanics thereof. So I've, when I took this job on, it was kind of like, this just fits so well with what I used to do, but, so outside of the town cars, which are $125 an hour, then it kind of goes up from there, right? Those are our cheaper options. That'll get you to point A to point B, fairly quickly. Now, if you kind of want to sit back, relax, have a drink, listen to some music, talk to your friends, maybe stand up, walk around, stand up party buses.
Yeah.
So the 9-passenger party bus is at $270 for the first hour.
Okay.
And it kind of goes up from there. So like the 14-passenger, it's $290 to start. And the 20-passenger, it's $310 to start. But that doesn't mean that it goes up like that every hour, right?
Yeah.
And something that me and the owner align with Idaho Town Car is, we are fair people that still hold the value of integrity, which, I've said it for years. I feel like, a lot of corporations and a lot of businesses, they lose that after getting big enough.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a hard thing to instill into people. But if you instill it in your system, in your processes, then people kind of have no choice, right? Yeah. And so I feel like integrity and value is what we want to bring to our clients, along with that privacy and high class,
I don't really feel like that there's much of that in this area. Have you seen like a service that provides that other than you guys?
Well, Hard to say.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like I don't actively go out to, to call my competitors to see what they're doing.
That's fair.
However, I hear stories.
Yeah.
Right. I hear why, when clients call me and they tell me things, it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Or, oh, that sucks. Right. I mean, you're going to get both stories.
Yeah.
Where people are just wanting to try different things. Oh, you guys have been here since 2012. We sure have.
Yeah.
But I guess that raises an interesting point. It's, what makes us different. Right. I guess that would be the thing. Well, I guess kind of going back to my original point of we still have and hold the same values that we have since we've opened, albeit the price has changed, but we still hold that same integrity and fairness to people. And when you call us, you're not getting a robot. And when you email us, you're not emailing a robot, and you're not feeling like you're
or a scammer.
or a scammer. Yeah, and I think that's important for people to understand. Yeah. Even billionaires, they understand that. They know, and it's a value to them.
I think I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like the higher class people obviously value that a lot more, but with that I feel like they also trust you more versus like somebody who's not experienced enough to understand that that's what it is. Like you're hiring that vendor to trust them. Yeah.
Well, and we've maintained that.
Yeah.
That trust and valuability.
Yeah.
People find that it's I don't know. I guess you can take your chance. So it's like almost like the moving industry, right? You can take your chances with the guys that you found on Facebook Marketplace, or you can go to a company that is licensed, insured, and bonded, and they have reviews to reflect who they are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when people use Google and they go to look up a company, right? They're like, what are the few things that they look at?
The reviews first.
The reviews for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the name.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I guess the name would be first. You'd be like, oh, that's a cool name, right? And then you click on that name, and then you find out about the reviews, right? Yeah. So, but, then that's, excuse me.
No, you're fine.
That's when you find out about who the company is based off of their reviews. Okay.
And how they respond to the reviews, actually, I think is hugely important.
What do you mean by that?
Like, how you can respond. So somebody leaves you a good review or a bad review, and you
I see the owner or whoever's responding to those.
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I've seen some nasty reviews, and then the owner responds in like not a great way, and you're like, right, yeah, the customer is probably justified in their response.
You know what, that's actually a very fair and valid point. I guess I've thinking about it, if I see a nasty response to what a customer is saying, I guess that there's levels of levels of that, right? Yeah. Like, okay, you see the customer's point of view, and then you see the owner's point of view, right? And I guess it kind of goes back to, well, am I a consumer or am I a manager? Like, as far as perspective goes, am I a manager or am I a consumer? Most of the time you're looking at that to be a consumer, but if you've got that type of brain that's just owner manager mentality, then you'll take the weight as it is. But I've definitely seen some pretty wild responses where the owner message from the owner, that is not how it was, in all caps, everything. All in caps. I'm like, bro, you need to take it easy. That's not the way to do it. Take the emotion out of it. Take the emotion out of it, put it into logical sense, and lay out the facts. X, Y, and Z, whatever that looks like. Thankfully, we're a 5-star company. Obviously, things happen. I'm sorry, 4.5 stars.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh no.
Well, you
can't please everybody.
Happen. We have vintage vehicles.
Oh yeah.
What happens with vintage vehicles? Well, sometimes things happen. We are in an industry of service, and that service is viable. Volatile. To to the car itself. We can't foresee everything, right? Like when you see cars broken down on the freeway, you just can't. You don't know what happened. A serpentine belt can go at any time. It doesn't matter how many times you inspect it in a week. You know what I mean? Like it could just snap all of a sudden. So things like that have happened. Where. I mean, but it's not like, it's not like we can't fix it, right? But some people just aren't happy with the fix.
Yeah.
Even if we get them another car and it's 20 minutes late, well, we're 20 minutes late. You're done.
Yeah.
That's it. You're gonzo. So can't please everybody.
Yeah.
But we please most.
That's good.
Yeah.
What would you say, I guess just, what would be an example of like a difficult situation you guys have had to handle?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good case in point of, gosh, what had happened? Okay. So our Escalade stretch, the alternator wire fried just all of a sudden while it was in transition to go pick people up.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, you're joking. Like, a driver calls me, hey, Kirk, what do we do? It's like, okay, first and foremost, we're going to have to get another car, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's a safety issue. And, I think safety is number one for me. And so I don't want to put anybody in a position to where they feel like they have to compromise safety. I'd rather just eliminate that altogether and just, if we have the availability to, and I think that's why we have a lot of vehicles in our fleet. It gives us that flexibility to move some pieces around, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're extremely busy and we just got to make it work. Sometimes we'll have to call our competitors and say, hey, we need help. I'm sorry. It happens.
And at least you have a relationship with them to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I can't speak about their drivers, right? But I trust my drivers. I've personally trained my drivers, and I consider myself a professional driver. I have a Class A CDL, and so do a couple of my drivers, and like it's a big deal for me. That's the safety aspect. That I'm talking about is not only the car itself, but the person driving the car.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So things like that happen. Where we just switch out the vehicle. I call the client. Hey, just to let you guys know, we had a safety issue. We will be a little bit late. However, we're gonna bring a party bus. 20 passenger party bus. Because it depends on how many passengers you got.
Yeah.
In that specific scenario, there's 13 passengers. There was a 14 passenger Escalade stretch. But that's, I guess what we're talking about as far as percentages wise, that's like 10% or less of the time.
Oh yeah.
90% or higher. That's our success rate.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
It is. Especially for, like you said, having vintage cars, because you can't always.
Right. You can't always foresee but it's about vehicle maintenance. I and the owner, we just don't stinge out about that.
And that's important. And it goes back to the safety.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Talk to me a little bit more about how you hire your drivers and how you teach them or train them for your driving.
Yeah. So, and what that looks like. Sure. I think that, so I guess a lot of where my training comes from is experience. Being on the road, over the road. I used to drive semi trucks as well.
Oh, wow.
So I was on the road for a long time.
Yeah.
And driving, U-Haul trucks, semi trucks, trailers, etc. When I do, so the hiring process, obviously we do background checks. We look into driver's records. It's pretty extensive. We do drug testing and randoms as well. So we want to try to provide is the most for our clients. Well, how do we do that, right? It starts with the drivers, the competency of a driver, the will they understand, client's request, So there's a bit of a interview process, and I'm pretty selective. I've had a stack of 77 applicants at one point in time. just tons of people hitting me up that want to be drivers. Well, I mean, my job is to weed out, right, and find the best. And that's how, and retention, right? So we want to keep the ones that are good, and we do pay our drivers pretty well. I think that's important, right? If I'm going to pick the best, well, I want to make sure that the best are getting paid.
Yeah.
And so from recruitment process to training process, after I've recruited who I think will be the best fit, then the training process starts, right? So I will go out there with them, teach them about, because every vehicle is a little bit different, how the lights work, how the AC works, and this vehicle versus that, it's all different, right? So I think it's important to go out there with them, take that time and show them everything. That way, when they get out on their first job, they know everything.
Yeah.
And they
it's almost like a CDL inspection. Yeah.
I'm a little, I want things to go perfectly.
Yeah.
I need things to go perfectly. In a service-based industry, you need to understand that it's so important for you to stand out from everybody else. And what makes you stand out? Well, it's not only your cars. It's not only your website or being voted number one in the Valley. It's your people. The people need to stand out, and they need to know what they're doing. So I think that's a core value of Idaho Town Car as well. So.
How many guys do you guys typically keep on staff?
Well, we have 3 full-time now. We're coming into our slow season.
Slow season.
Our slow season started in February. I say slow, but it's not like we, the entire month of September completely booked.
Oh yeah.
It's already 1/8 of the way there now. And we're what, 5 months away from that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like September will get filled up. No question.
Yeah.
And that's why our vehicle maintenance is important, right? We got to start doing that now.
Yeah. I guess that makes a lot of sense because you guys were probably super busy during the holidays too.
Slammed.
Yeah.
Okay. We finally had a slow, couple of weeks, which it was that January to mid-February. It was a breather. You know what I mean? It was hallelujah. We can breathe for a minute, guy.
Yeah.
At that time, I had a few more drivers that were full-time, that now are part-time, which it's okay. They know it's okay, well, things pick up. I'm that's the goal for Idaho Town Car. We want to be busy. We want, I want 10 drivers full time. That'd be great.
Yeah. I
want to fill up my whole fleet and then get some more.
Yeah.
Based off of how I think we are in the valleys.
Yeah. And I definitely feel it's a given. The valley is just exploding. But I feel there is and there isn't certain vendors and industries that are keeping up. Do you feel that same way with the car industry?
Right. Yeah. Well, in the car industry specifically?
Transportation.
Oh, I see. Transportation. That's a very interesting point is, can Boise handle it? Right. I've lived here most of my life. Right. I remember when all of this all around us used to be dirt fields.
Oh yeah. Me too.
I grew up in a dirt field. Yeah. Almost literally. I think we're doing a fair job. I always think that there's always going to be room for improvement. There's a lot of positive things. There's a lot of negative things. I guess it just depends on what's more important to you and how to solve that. As a operations guy, I always think we can do better. I always want to do better. I always strive to do better. Because there's if you think that you're perfect, man, that's when you failed.
Yeah.
Because then you feel like you don't have anything to work on anymore. And I think that that's where a lot of people fail. A lot of companies fail is they feel like that they've already reached that benchmark.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's the case. I think that there's always room for improvement.
Well, and especially in an environment where it's constantly growing or changing.
Exactly. Yeah. Adapt or die.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally like that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even in nature, like stagnant water is the most dangerous.
Right.
So
that's exactly right. Yeah.
If you're stagnant in your business, like that's probably the most dangerous time.
Right. Yeah. And that's, that kind of translates into your company as well.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep things the same, or you're not really staying on top of it. I guess that's, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And then what compromises after that? Well, then you're starting to compromise safety. You're starting to compromise your clients, compromising your people. It's like, yeah, that, like you said, it's stagnant. You just can't allow that to happen. So
I think that's been a huge mindset shift for me. Like you said, growing up in the valley, like if you're native here, you're negative about everybody moving in, but also think about all the opportunity that's bringing in.
Right.
Like I think, at least over the last year, that's something that I've been reflecting on quite a bit. Like, because I was that person. I was like, oh my God, you moved here from there, and super negative, like not to the person, but like in my mind.
Sure.
Because I feel like it's almost like a conditioning that we received, like not really welcoming to outsiders, but
right.
Think about like all the amazing food that we're getting, all the amazing people that we're meeting. It's exciting. And it's definitely, like I said, a mindset thing.
Yeah, it boosts economy.
Yeah.
And I'm all about that. Mm-hmm. I have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, bring it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You over there? Come on. Yeah. Come on. We'll take you. I'll be your premium driver. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just handle it.
Well, and that is another aspect. I imagine it's probably something that you guys see a ton is like, if you're from here, you're not going to value spending money on something like that, I feel like. But if you're from places, I don't want to be too specific, but we all know what I'm talking about.
For sure.
You're bringing that, and I feel like there's a little bit more of a value that they see, and I don't know if it's like a cultural thing or what it is, but I feel like they would definitely see the value in something like that.
And that's kind of why I brought that up, right?
Yeah.
Is I wanted, and hopefully, the viewers can understand this, is that, we are in changing times.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't adopted that adapt or die mentality, it's exactly what it states, right? Mm-hmm. Either you adapt or you just kind of fade away. Mm-hmm. Maybe go move somewhere else. But we are adapting. We are going into getting into a bigger city mindset. Yeah. That's just because people want to live here. People want to live here because we have, like I was kind of talking about the core values of Idaho Town Car. We have those values here in Idaho of integrity, of people that have, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that it's important for people to feel that. Yeah. So yes. So going back to your question, sorry. No. It's, yes, they do see it as more of a value for the people that are coming into those big cities and that are getting charged these extra premiums, and getting picked up in a Toyota Highlander.
Could you imagine?
I'm like, that's crazy ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, we're picking you up in a Range Rover, right? And it's only costing you $125. Yeah.
That's
they
a
see.
steal.
I mean, I've gotten phone calls from Virginia, and I'm like, oh, you want to go to Gooding, Idaho, right? Oh, okay. It's oh gosh, how far away is that? Hour and a half. Okay, so it's 3 hours, right? I mean, because we have to charge for the round trip, right? Yeah, and I tell them it's like $450, and that's it. Yeah. For 3 hours? Yeah. Wait, 3 hours, $450. I'm like,
in a nice car.
Yeah, in a nice. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, yeah, right.
Yeah. What else would it be?
Like, you want me to say 1,000? Like, yeah, right. Do you want me to raise my prices right now? It's kind of like, yeah, that's what we charge. You know, like, oh my God. And then that's when they start diving into, oh my gosh, over here for imagine our airport rides are like 20, 25 minutes. You're spending over $250. I'm like, that's actually crazy. That's double. And Virginia, mind you, that's Washington D.C. area. You know, like a lot of political people there, just a lot of people in general. It's like the Tri-City area, of Washington, and they're spending $250 for a 20-minute ride, right? So
and they're like, that's no big deal.
Yeah, they're like, where can I sign?
Yeah,
where I want to sign up right now. So it's a perspective thing, right?
Yeah.
So here in Idaho, if I were to talk to a native Idahoan, wait a minute, I'm going to spend $125 for a 30-minute ride to the airport?
Yeah.
Yes.
You are high.
Yeah, they're like, I'm just going to get an Uber. I'm like, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
I said, but there's going to be a point in time when you realize that you can't always count on Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
They choose it for you.
Right.
Instead of you get to choose. And if you want to request, hey, we won't talk to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you're in a high class vehicle with heated seats in the back, air conditioning just blowing on you.
Yeah.
And you get to choose everything.
Yeah.
It's all personalized and customized to you, and you just don't get that. But problem is that when we're looking at that, Idaho versus California versus Virginia mindset, the people outside of Idaho think that it's an incredible deal. Everybody inside Idaho is like,
pretty steep.
That's like Buffalo Wild Wings saying we're gonna raise the price of wings.
Yeah.
It's like detrimental to people. I'm like, that's crazy to me. Like, we understand how economy works, right? If you don't understand how economy works, I think you need to go learn how economy works. Because that's where Boise and the Treasure Valley is headed.
Yeah.
Well,
and I was two things. I was thinking about this on my way over here, how expensive like apartments are. And I remember like maybe 6 years ago, I was looking at an apartment. I was passing it. That's why I was thinking about it. And I was just like, that was like, it was an apartment, 3-bed, 2-bath, with a garage, and it was like $2,200. And back then I was like, that's stupid, nobody's gonna pay that. Today I'm like, that is a steal.
Yeah,
that's a steal. So just like the trajectory. The second thing I was gonna say, I was talking to my grandpa, and he had noticed that there's like the pooper scooper things for dog poop.
Yeah.
And he was asking me, he's like, people pay that? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he was just mind blown. Again, native Idahoan thing, like,
yeah, it's
the things that we question the value for that other people aren't questioning. And it's exploding.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, to go on, I know that's getting a little bit off topic, but
I know. I am going to circle back. I do have a question to circle back.
Yeah,
but...
I mean, we will. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, tangents.
Yeah, TBD. No, I'm just kidding.
Part two, we'll get into the real stuff.
Yeah. Stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah.
But back when I was 18 and I had my own apartment, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot. Guess how much I paid?
Probably like $500.
It was $500.
That makes me sick.
Now, mind you, that was when I was 18, 19. That was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, in 18 years, like I was paying $500, whereas now for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, I paid 1,200 square foot. You're going to be spending roughly 1,300 up to 1,800, depending on what part of the city you live in.
I live in Cuna, and with all the things that they tack on, I pay $2,000.
That's wild.
Yeah, in Cuna.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Same square foot. Yeah.
Crazy.
It is. But anyways, circling back on that, the question is kind of a transition question. Do you notice, because I've talked with other vendors and they obviously notice a lot of out of town people, do you notice that Idaho is becoming more of a destination wedding area?
Yeah.
Like, I guess your clientele in the wedding side of things, where do you get most of your clients? Or at least half?
So that's a 2-part question.
Yeah.
Let me answer your first question first. I guess that kind of goes back in part of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is that Boise is growing. We have the landscape that is very attracted to, I mean, you take Sun Valley and McCall.
Oh, yeah.
And Haley, for example. I mean, people love that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's people there now that are millionaires, billionaires, whatever, that live there.
Mm-hmm.
They love that privacy. They love the scenery.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important to know it's, we are growing.
Mm-hmm.
And, when people put us on that marker of Idaho is the place to go.
I know Post Malone was just here on Saturday or Sunday. Yeah.
Just chilling.
He was actually, before he went to Indian Creek, he was at Cook's in Melba. Cook's bar, like hole in the wall, like
Cook's Melba. Wow. That's like right before or right after the bridge. I haven't been there in forever.
Right. Insane.
Anyways, yeah.
Like in town, like just that hole in the wall bar, like only people from Melba go.
Totally.
Like it was insane.
But you see, he's not recognized here. Like a lot of people are like, we're still growing in that sense of we're not big city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Personally, I hope we don't ever get to like big city, like, LA or like, what's that? Detroit,
oh yeah,
Michigan, just big city stuff. I hate it, to be honest. Like it's so annoying to me.
But I think we are on that trajectory, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we are. Hopefully not in my lifetime, because I love the fact it's like Idaho. I mean, I'm born and raised here. I'm still a native.
Right.
And so I still love to, I can drive 30 minutes and get to the mountains.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can go snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
I can go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I can do really cool things. I don't ever want to get it to the point to where it's like, now that's like an unthinkable goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they're still going to be there, but hopefully we can expand in such a way where it's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe even expanding a little bit more of the mountain, because some of it's blocked off. You can't go here or there. And so we're just congregating a lot of people in this small little area.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's expand that a little bit. Like let's open it up to everybody. And anyway, I'm getting a lot off topic, but I guess the point I was trying to make is that we as Idahoans need to understand that we're growing.
Mm-hmm.
We are growing. We are getting that big city vibes, and we need to adjust to that.
Yeah, there's no stopping.
As a professional transportation company, specifically, I'm all about expanding, getting the right people in there to getting the job done effectively, safely, efficiently. I think it's important. What was your second question again? I'm sorry. See, I
it's okay.
I was train of thought.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shoot, I just forgot.
No, I totally get it. Do you guys see, do you guys see more locals or more out-of-staters hiring you for the wedding service?
Oh yeah, there we go. We get a lot of locals. If I had to put it into percentage, it's almost either 50-50 or 60-40.
Which one's 60?
The out-of-staters.
Yeah.
Yeah. The out-of-towners, because they, like I said, it kind of goes back to what I was saying. They see the value in what we're bringing.
Mm-hmm.
And our company is unique. We are the only company that has vintage vehicles. Did you know that?
What about
Oh, there is one.
Yeah, I think there's one, but I don't know if they have more than one.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, but
yeah, I don't think that they have more than one. I think we have the most uniqueness.
Yeah.
Right? I think our vintage vehicles, well, with how well maintained they are, we still kept their original body look, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we maintain our cars very well.
Yeah,
like we maintain the uniqueness is there. And it comes with an amazing chauffeur. It's really cool experience.
Yeah.
So I would say 60-40, 50-50. But even Idahoans, I guess it kind of goes back to even Idahoans see the value in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not so much as, okay, here's the price. We're only looking at the price. Well, no, not necessarily. You're getting married.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put this into perspective. You're getting married, and the significance of getting married is to have that once in a lifetime experience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess when you're talking about numbers, well, does it really matter?
Yeah.
Right? Because I've known people that are like, well, here's your budget, $25,000. This is your budget for your wedding. Okay. Well, we went $10,000 over that budget.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just happens. You get a little carried away, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to have those unique experiences.
Yeah. Because when else are you going to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, let's be real here. You're only supposed to get married once.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So it's like, well, let's go out with a bang.
Yeah.
I've been married for 10 years. And,
congratulations.
I love you, baby. You're in my mind. I love you so much.
Well, that's impressive, even like in today's day and age.
It's exactly the way I was going to go. It's sad to see that rate, but it is an amazing experience, and you want to experience that. Mm-hmm. Trust me. Here's something that people don't think about is whenever I get called for a wedding, right, they always talk about send-off. Mm-hmm. Like 85% of the time, it's like, we're calling you about send-off. I'm like, okay. What about the people getting to your wedding? Yeah. What about the people trying to get home?
Yeah. Because they're going to be probably intoxicated.
Pretty, juicing it up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're like, oh.
Or taking them to the after party.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. And then even a ride after that. So it's like, excuse me, it's like people, when they call me, they're like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't think. Oh gosh, we have over 200 guests. Like, how are we gonna shuttle them? Don't worry, I've got the answer just for you. We've got massive vehicles. Yeah, to provide that transportation. And so it's like, people think about just the send off. I'm like, well, the send off's really cool. Mm-hmm. Trust me, that's for them, right? The vintage vehicle. Yeah. But then we've got party buses to haul your people back, dude. And it's like, oh my gosh, you got party buses? Yeah. Like, we sure do. We sure do. Check this out, Yeah. And it's like, it just turns from like 0 to 100 so fast. Yeah. And then they get super excited. I'm like, that's what I live for. I love that feeling. It's such a cool feeling.
How recently have you guys noticed the party bus trend? Because I feel like it's been like about a year or so, but I could be naive and it could have been going on longer, but I feel like definitely the last at least 1 or 2 years I've noticed that.
Like how do people react to I guess, party bus?
So, I mean, they probably have always been around, but I guess I'm more so thinking of like the ones downtown.
Oh yeah, those little shuttle deals. Yeah. And that's cool. Let's be real here. Like I remember,
or the Cowgirls party bus.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. What are those little trolley things? It's like the booze cruise. The booze cruise, like where they pedal to move the thing, but they drink the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like that's cool. But man, talk about so much work.
Right.
Like that's cool. But
I guess I started seeing that and the party bus around the same time. So I guess that's probably why it's in my mind is they're similar.
Well, and you got to remember, when people, so like, let's just say from the East Coast, right? I always reference the East Coast because the East Coast feels like it's always 10 or 15 years ahead of the West Coast.
Absolutely. And Idaho is still 20 years behind that.
Yeah, so true. Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, right.
I'm okay with. Okay? I'm just
Me too.
But it's people that have lived over there, and they see the trend, and they see where Idaho is going, specifically the Treasure Valley, right, and the surrounding areas, even going over to Sun Valley and McCall, etc., Gooding. Some guys over the East Coast said, hey, we should get something cool over there. Like that was the idea. When we started 12 years ago, the owners, owner David Herman, when he started this, for one, it started as a hobby, to be honest. He just likes cars, and he loves to talk about them. Like that's his like niche, like that. He loves it. It was a hobby. And so it wasn't some big dream and some big fantasy to grow this company. It was more so just he wanted to
How do I get more cars?
pull out. And yeah. I guess the justification was, how can I tell my wife I'm buying more cars, to feed my hobby without spending additional money? I'll just create a company. I mean, I would imagine that's how it probably in his mind. But like, what a cool concept, right? Like, it's like, okay, to feed your addiction, you started a company to make money. Like, I love it. Great idea.
I think so too.
I think he was ahead of the curve, and he didn't know that. Maybe he did. I don't know. But the Treasure Valley itself was going to explode in such a way to where now it's becoming a necessity. To where, oh my gosh, we need transportation. Yeah, because that's one of the things that Idaho lacks in is the transportation. Isn't that crazy? Coming into this company, I was like, wow, I didn't realize how needed this is until I started diving into it. I was like, oh, wow, that's so crazy. Well,
because like you think everybody here has a car, but I mean, not everybody does.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's certainly not like the East Coast where half the people don't own a car. It's all travel by bus, travel by, private this, private that.
And we have like a few buses, but nothing like...
Nah, we do have city buses, but I'm saying as far as professional transportation goes.
Oh, yeah.
Of... the private aspect of it, we don't have a lot of that here. We don't.
No.
But that's where we're headed, guys. Like that's where it's at.
Yeah.
And just let everybody know, I guess, we are upgrading our fleet. Either this year or next year.
Is that
starting this year, I should say?
The 2 additional cars you were talking about, or
so not on top of that?
Okay.
We are upgrading our SUVs. Newer models. We're going to get some 2025s in.
Nice.
Super cool, super awesome. Can't wait for that to hit our fleet.
Yeah.
So
anything you can announce, like what you guys are getting? That's fair.
Can't.
That's okay.
You'll have to visit our website.
Oh, darn. Which is?
Our website is idahotowncar.com.
Okay. Easy enough.
Super easy. Yeah. I mean, check us out. You can even order from there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I've integrated, a bunch of things when I took over. So I took over as operation manager for Idaho Town Car in August of 2024. Prior to that, I've had a lot of success with my moving and painting company. Do
you feel like this is a lot easy? Like, I don't want to say easier, but
that transition was,
yeah,
it was well. So I'm also a little bit of a business coach as well.
Okay.
And, there's 3 principles that every company, doesn't matter who you are, what you do, or how you run it, there's always 3 main base principles and foundations for a company. And it's system, processes, and people. So if you got those down, it's relatively easy. There's still going to be the challenges of obviously the challenge from going from a moving company to a transportation company. Well, I mean, the transport is still there.
Yeah.
But you're coming into different problems. You see what I'm saying? It's a little bit different. Whenever we do airport rides, right? Well, every year we have to re-up our status with the airport.
Oh.
Well, that means hours of paperwork.
Yeah.
Like getting the stickers back on our car it's a yearly update thing. So it's like, well, I mean, how are we able to get you at the front door? Well, that's how.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we have to pay our fees and we have to pay our dues.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of background that people don't, that people don't think about.
Yeah.
And as their prices go up, right? I mean, that kind of goes back to the economy 101. It's like, well, we're getting bigger. Everything's going to go higher and higher, as our expenses go up. Well, then that's when we have to translate that into our prices, right?
Yeah.
But going back to the beginning of when we first started, which was back in 2012, as it started as a hobby, then it came into something, okay, this is actually something really cool. We're bringing that uniqueness to the crowd. Then we added on top of our town cars, the party buses, the vintage vehicles, the stretches. It's like, when we added those in 2018, 2019, 2020, it's like, we just kept taking those steps forward to try and be unique and to try to fill that role of when you call a professional transportation company, you want somebody that's going to be reliable.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Kind of goes back to that safety aspect. Well, if a wire is fried on one of your vehicles and one of our competitors, well, we only have one vintage car, you're going to have to call somebody else. Here's your money back. That is such a hassle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, I'm so sorry that this happened. We'll put you in another car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the professional aspect of it.
Yeah. Because then they're not high and dry trying to figure out something else, like trying to find
and you're stuck in a hard place. You know, it's like, we don't want you to go through that. You know, it's a service-based industry, and you know how hard that is.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
How did the 2020 issues affect you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we just put a mask on. You know, that did absolutely nothing. So you know, obviously, I got feelings about that. It's like, how stupid was COVID?
Yeah.
You know, did people get sick? For sure, right? I got sick, and it sucked for like 3 weeks. It was so terrible. But as far as how did it impact our business, it didn't impact us. And obviously I wasn't there for it. I looked at the numbers and I found out, right? Like I knew, how it impacted us. There was a negative impact, but there was also a positive, impact as well. So obviously we know the negative impact. Nobody was going anywhere. Nobody was doing anything, right? But the positive impact was, okay, now we come back together, and how can we add more value to the company to give more to the people? Right? Kind of goes back to our core values of where do we stand? Yeah. And that kind of, it kind of translates into, well, yeah, that sucks. We went through this little shutdown thing. Well, we're going to come out of this with our feet hitting the ground running. Yeah. You know, it's good to be prepared. It's good to be over prepared, you know, for instances like that. So yes, it sucked, right? Obviously financially, super not good. You know, but we bounced back in a way to where it's, you know, hey, now we're number one. Yeah. So I'd say we did really well. Yeah.
Well, and it's important, again, the adapting, because a lot of businesses obviously didn't make it.
Right. So that's exactly right. Yeah.
What is one thing your clients would say about working with you guys?
You know, it's really good question. I mean, I talk to a lot of people over the phone, and I think that when they see that value of, one, you're talking to a person. Hi, not a robot.
I'm real.
And no, I'm just kidding. I'm a bit of a character, but I'm certainly not a robot. You know, I see, you know, when people call me and like they are calling me about a wedding, or they're calling me about, hey, we want to go out of town. I'm like, that's awesome. Let's make it happen for you. You know, they are feeling that valued moment of, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. You know, like he understands that we want to have fun. Yes, I do. Because I get it. Been there. Want to have fun with you, just spiritually. Yeah. Right? On every single ride. Yeah. You know, call me. Let's make a ride happen every single day. Yeah. I love the fact that people can call in super easy. Usually takes like 7 minutes to book a whole ride, get it on the calendar, get it all paid for, done. Right.
It's super quick.
And then you're on the calendar, it's paid for. We know, you've got the confirmation email. It's set.
That's probably the quickest vendor to book for a wedding.
I know. The fact that I've got it dialed in to like 7 minutes. Like when I first started and I took over the phone calls, it took me about 12 minutes.
That's pretty good. Almost in half.
So I was like, how can I efficiently and effectively handle each phone call to where we can still laugh a little bit, you know, because, man, I just love cracking jokes, you know. It's like some people are really receptive to that, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're so funny. I'm like, dude, you have no idea how funny I am. But I was like, but I don't want to waste your time on this phone call, you know, because time is valued, and I don't want to value your time. Yeah. And so it's just like that, you know, the whole, who am I? Who are you? Oh, you've never heard of Idaho Town Car? Oh, I can't believe you son of a gun. Well, you're about to have the best doggone night of your life, you know? And that translates to, they've already got that mindset of, okay, this guy's super cool. The company is the company is also, I mean, we hold the same values,
Yeah.
like obviously it translates
Yeah.
from the top down, and I want, my drivers to have a fun time too. So I joke with them frequently too.
Yeah.
It's a fun inviting experience. So, so that's the process.
Yeah.
When people call, you're talking to some guy, that's putting you into a calendar system, and have a couple of laughs or not. Sometimes those phone conversations last 4.5 minutes, where they just want to get right to the point.
Yeah.
And I can do that too.
Yeah.
I can diverse a little bit.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What is the funniest or most unexpected moment you've seen or had to deal with?
Well, there's a lot of unexpected moments when there's alcohol involved.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause you don't know what people are going to do. You don't know how, people are different when they, get a little juiced up and they're having a little bit of fun. It's like, normally it's in a positive light, but sometimes you see some things. Obviously my drivers, who have been with us for 2 years or better, they've seen some things, and I've heard some stories. I don't know if I want to divulge into some of those stories, but
so when you guys go to pick up people, what's your typical dress?
Yeah, so we, in order to be a professional transportation company, you have to look the part.
Yeah.
My driver, we're not allowed to wear jeans, shorts, anything of the sort, always slacks. I don't care if it's 10 degrees below zero, slacks, and a very, very warm, nice jacket.
Yeah.
I've had it to where we had this driver, and it was getting into the winter time, and she didn't have a nice jacket. I just went out and I went and bought one for her.
Oh, nice.
I was like, okay, I get it. Haven't received your first paycheck yet. You're coming out of a rock and a hard place. I get that. Here's a nice jacket, right? Like that's gonna keep you. It was actually a really nice trench coat, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like my wife was super jealous. She's like, well, you never bought me anything like that. I'm like, yeah, because you always buy it for yourself. So, but anyways,
and it's not a business write-off.
Yeah, and it was a business write-off. That's exactly right. So I was like, I'm just going to do you a favor, right? And so it's like, I want my drivers to dress the part.
Yeah.
Right? You guys know how to drive really well, right? You've been trained to run these vehicles. You have the background to drive these vehicles. We also need to look professional, and I think it's important for clients to see that that professionalism, that expertise of we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Opening up car doors, grabbing your luggage and putting it into the vehicles as well. All super, super important.
Yeah.
That's the aspect of what a professional transport company looks like.
Yeah. It's the small details, really.
It really is. Yeah.
What would you say is the most important small detail? Or I guess maybe not even the most important, but what's like a small detail that often gets overlooked but makes a huge impact?
Well, boy, I guess if you really boil that down, I guess it would go to dress code.
Yeah.
On top of that, it would be car wash.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Actually, yeah.
And so I guess here's the process. I guess let me kind of dial that back a little bit, and kind of tell you about what our processes as drivers go.
Yeah.
And kind of, I know we talked a little bit about that earlier, but I guess to expand on it a little bit. So when my drivers, let's just say the driver needs to be there at 5:00, right? And typically we like to be there 10 minutes early. I tell my drivers, get there 10, 15 minutes early, right? That way you account for traffic, you account for somebody having an accident, you're early, right? And then that way, if you are late, that means something really bad on the freeway happened or something, etc. I mean, people are just gonna have to understand that.
Yeah.
At any rate, so getting there early, right? And so the process of not only getting there early, so we have our vehicles stored in a location in a storage unit. That's outside of the airport.
Okay.
A little bit past the airport. And so it's like it's a bit of a bit of a drive because I mean, let's just say we got to go to Marston.
Oh,
it's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on traffic. But I guess it's like 40 or 45.
Before we get too far off, and I forget, what's your guys' like service range?
So that's insurance based.
Okay.
So we are insured up to 500 miles.
Okay.
So anywhere from it starts in Boise and then 500 miles outside of that.
And that's not like round trip. It's just the radius.
That's the radius of 500 miles from Boise.
Okay.
Is what they were telling me.
Okay. Anyways,
yeah. So that's the process of the drivers getting there 10 or 15 minutes early to the actual ride. Well, they have to get to that facility an hour and a half before, right? Double check fluids, tires, making sure that it's clean, making sure that the car's been washed. Because sometimes there's instances where my drivers are getting back home really late, like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. Well, they're not going to spend that additional hour of cleanup, that late. I want them to go home. I want them to go relax. So it's like the next driver, if they didn't have time to clean it, well, if they has to go back out the next day, the next driver understands, okay, got to get there an hour to hour and a half early because we got to clean. And so that's the details that, people will look at, right?
Yeah.
Outside, the inside of the car. Is it gassed up? Do we have to stop at a gas station? No, you will not ever have to do that with us, right? Obviously, sometimes things happen, right? Where, I guess during a ride, could a gas meter stop working? Yes, right? To where it says it's E all of a sudden. Well, I mean, what's the driver going to do? I need a gas, I guess. Like, we got to go to the gas station,
Yeah.
Would that happen? I mean, sure. Is it practical? I don't know. I mean,
well, and especially on the longer trips, like you're probably gonna have to.
Yeah, we got to gas up for those for sure. But I guess we can run 4 hours without having to fill up on most of our vehicles.
That's awesome.
Except for the vintage ones. Those I think are 2 hours before we need to go and fuel up. But normally, most of the time, we don't have clients in the car when we do that. Kind of in between rides, we're doing so. Like we'll drop them off, and like, okay, we want you to wait on site for sure. Totally do that. My driver knows to set that appropriate expectation. Yeah, I'll just be like 5 minutes down the way, no big deal. I gotta go fuel up and do stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then that's when we restock drinks. We put fresh ice back into. Like our Escalade stretches, like we put more ice in there, and it's like we want them to come in every single time like they're walking into it for the first time.
That's awesome.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the process of every driver.
Yeah.
And I guess those are the small details that I try to think of.
Yeah.
That if I'm getting into a vehicle and I'm spending a fair amount of money for.
Yeah.
I want it to be,
that luxury experience.
That luxury and high class experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I like that because as we're talking about this, I'm like, I judge cars pretty hard when I'm driving. Like if it's dirty, I'm like what does that say about you?
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I was thinking about that too. What is a common misconception couples or just clients in general have about the car service?
I guess it would have to be the hourly rates. I think it kind of goes back to the prices. It's like the misconception of, when I say, so our vintage vehicles, it's $450 for the first hour, and then think it's per hour.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, that would be astronomical.
Yeah.
Imagine 450. I'm like, that's $1,800 in 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So no. So when we price, and it kind of goes back to our fairness, alignment with David and I, it's $450 for the first hour, right? Then it goes up from there. Then it goes, I think it's like 500 and something for the second hour.
Like total.
total.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like 500. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, you know, but normally it's when we do our vintage vehicles, it's usually just that 1 hour. You know, people want to get that experience at the very end of their night.
Yeah.
Others want to do photo shoots with it. It's like 3 hours. It's like, okay, $700, you know, relatively inexpensive still.
Yeah.
I mean, considering, I mean, you're getting a really nice vintage car,
Yeah.
you know, without paying for it.
Right.
You know, and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars are put into these vintage cars. People would lose their mind on how much we've actually spent on these cars.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. The upkeep itself is kind of wild. So
yeah.
that would be one of the most common misconceptions of what people, when they're asking us about Idaho Town Car, they're like, you know, oh, that's per hour. That's crazy. You know, starting at $270 an hour for our party buses. They're like, $270 per hour? No, it's not actually. Because for the second hour, it's $390. For the third hour, it's, you know, $515. You know, like it goes up gradually, but nothing that'll break the bank for you to have a great time.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and you split it among friends. If it's a party bus, then
that's what I'm saying.
Real cheap.
It's like, dude, you should totally get your friends together, because then you're only spending like what, $50 a couple.
Right.
Come on, dude.
Yeah. For a party experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got your own personal Uber.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And you can drink and drive. Well, not drive. You can drink and be driven.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's definitely like going back to the luxury experience that we're just not used to, like in the area.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're bringing this new, right? I say new because it's becoming more accepted, and people are wanting more of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, when you're choosing the right people, then you're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's, and you know what's important to me is, I admit my mistakes, right? If it was my mistake and I'm human, right? Like I make mistakes all the time, dude. And does it suck? Yes, because I want to be perfect, right? But unfortunately, sometimes it's just not possible. You know, I have made a mistake before where I've chosen the wrong day on accident. I fat fingered it.
Oh no!
I didn't even know. Luckily, it was the day before.
Oh, good.
You know, like on this particular ride. So my driver showed up and nobody knew anything. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
You know, like, so what a weird interaction that like have, and I'm like, what happened, you know?
Yeah.
And then I have to call the people. I'm like, oh, it's not until tomorrow. I'm like, oh my God.
We just this was our test run.
Just kidding. You're on Price is Right. You know, like, I was like, oh my gosh, so stupid. But, you know, and there's been times where I messed up the time, you know, or maybe they didn't tell me about the time change, you know, and my driver gets there an hour later. They're like, oh, you were supposed to do this. And well, if it's my mistake, I will own it 100%. And, you know, and I'm going to make sure to help you out with that. You know, if you use this again, I'm going to make sure that you get a big fat discount. You know, awesome. I want people to understand that there's value in integrity.
Yeah.
Integrity is there. We hold integrity with Idaho Town Car. And it's just harder and harder to find that nowadays in a lot of companies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think it really helps set you apart when you are able to maintain that integrity.
Yeah, totally.
If a couple's on the fence about hiring a transportation service, what would you tell them?
Just do it.
Yeah. I mean, because like you said before, like you're only going to do this once, like realistically.
Yeah. Like, you know, I guess I'll
the marriage part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, for marriage, for specifically, and by the way, we've got a lot of great vendors that we work with. I just want to shout out one really fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude. So the ladies at Capital Occasions.
Yeah.
Super cool. Very easy to work with. When you're getting a wedding coordinator, I mean, Capital Occasions, man, they just knock it out of the park. I love working with them. They're super simple, super easy. They give me all the information that I need.
Oh, good.
And other vendors as well. I've heard nothing but good things. So good job, guys.
I love shout outs.
Dude, it's super, super great. And it makes my job easier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not having to deal with X, Y, and Z, whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to shout them out.
Absolutely.
Super cool people. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Do you want me to repeat?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
If a couple's on the fence about hiring a transportation
Oh,
service.
yes. Yeah. Sorry. Great.
No, yeah.
That kind of goes back to if you're on the fence of whether or not you should, I guess what would be the stopping power, right?
Mhm.
I guess if you look at it from a pros and cons perspective, well, you're going to get a ride anyway.
Yeah.
So what are you on the fence about? Price? Well, I mean, if we're talking about price, understand what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're getting, you pay for what you get. You
Yeah.
know, like if you go to a furniture store and you pay for something that's $300, well, it lasts you a year. Well, then now you just spent $300 for a piece of crap furniture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're paying for things to last, right? In this case, it's going to be a memory. And the
Mhm.
memory is going to be, I paid for an experience that I probably won't ever get.
Yeah.
You know, but if you keep coming back to us, then you keep getting the experience.
Yeah.
Right? So you get what you pay for, right? We are not the most expensive by any means. We are not actually. Out of all of our competitors, we're actually right there in the middle.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't want to be the most expensive.
Yeah.
You know, because then that kind of defeats the whole integrity purpose.
Yeah.
So when you call me and you say, well, it's like, that seems like a lot of money. I'm like, but understand what we're doing for you, right? You know, we're making sure you have cold beverages. By the way, we do provide water bottles and sparkling water, but that's it.
Okay.
If you want alcohol, you have to bring your own.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's important to know.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously, you know, you can drink back there, but it's like, we don't care.
Yeah.
But we're not going to provide it.
Yeah.
We do have a champagne service though.
Oh, yeah.
Where we do, you know, champagne bottles. But anyways, outside of that, you know, you're paying for that professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for the uniqueness, that once in a lifetime, you know, for your wedding, where you get a vintage vehicle, or if you want to go out in town on a weekend with your buddies, you know, you get into one of our party buses. That is a very unique experience.
It is.
You know, it's very fun, very cool. You know, that kind of experience is just, it's once in a lifetime, but you can do it over and over again. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of fun.
It's like you kind of get that like the itch to do it again.
You do. I mean, we have a lot of repeat business.
Yeah.
We really do. Yeah. There's ladies and people that we talk to. It's like, hey, me again. I'm like, what's up?
How's it going?
I was like, let's get it going.
Where are we going this time?
Yeah, where are we going? Yeah. Which vehicle do you want this time?
Yeah.
And you know, like we do like a lot of concerts, you know,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of concert runs. You know, we do a lot of, oh my gosh, events, concerts, airport runs, you know, going to Sun Valley, you know,
See, that's something like
jackpot.
Yeah.
Dude.
I am a passenger princess 100%.
100%.
That is something that I would have, like, road trips are my favorite. I will say, like, I love
As
road
long as
trips.
you're not the one doing the driving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mind the driving. Like, I'll do the driving, but I think that would be such a, like, cool experience to do, like, a girls trip or something, like, going to, like, Sun Valley.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool, man. Like, and even Jackpot, you know,
Yeah.
Sun Valley Jackpot, they're both 2.5, 3 hours away. I mean, we go to Oregon a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like we're confined in this little area.
Mhm.
We go outside of this area, you guys. And we love it, you know.
Yeah.
And you guys are, I mean, you guys, our clients in the back, they're just
Hopefully they're listening.
yeah. Are you guys listening? You know, our clients in the back, they're being driven for 3 hours, but they're having drinks, social hour, you know, is what I
Yeah.
like to call it. I'm like, you guys want social hour?
Yeah.
Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
You know, like case in point, like I'm going to Jackpot. I think it's in a week and a half. I don't remember. You know, but we're picking up 14 people.
Wow.
And they're like, let's go to Jackpot. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and so like we charge for you know, the ride, the gratuity, And of course, lodging. If my driver has to stay overnight,
Yeah.
typically that's the case because they want to ride the next morning.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for them to drive back.
Yeah.
It actually would cost more. But what a cool experience.
Yeah.
The 3 hours there and then 3 hours back. It's like, dude, pump some tunes.
Yeah.
Give us some champagne. Let's talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, people love that. I mean, I would too. Let's be real here. Like, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, honestly, because I've never even thought about that either. But that sounds like so fun.
Oh, it is. It is.
Is there anything that you want to leave them with?
I'll leave you with this, you guys. Know what you're getting, right? Understand the price value of what you're getting. I promise you that if you call Idaho Town Car, we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care. There's a reason why we were voted best and number one. And that's because we value our clients as number one and not only ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're not thinking about just ourselves. And if you are on the fence of getting transportation, just get it.
Yeah. You're
going to get it anyway. Just know you're probably going to have drinks, or whatever. Or if you just don't want to drive.
Yeah.
Who wants to, get out of a big fat wedding dress and then drive home?
Yeah.
Lame.
Yeah. It's all about the memories.
Yeah. Let a professional take you home. It's about the experience.
Yeah.
Have the experience. At least try it.
Yeah.
Give us a try. Let us try to wow you.
Just do it once.
And
just try it once.
Yeah. If you're wowed, go for it.
Yeah.
Go all in. Yeah. And then try our other vehicles.
Yeah.
Or if you need a ride to the airport, we can get you there.
Yeah.
Or
the guests from the airport,
or your guests, or shuttling, or your business. Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about. I'm so sorry.
No, absolutely.
We're trying to build contracts with companies.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, dude, we can give you 10% for all of your employees.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
10% off. I mean, shoot. I would even be willing to up that in some cases.
Yeah.
Just depending on like the longevity. But imagine if your company says, yeah, let's use you for our transportation company. Great. This 10% off discount is applied to everybody that works for you.
That's awesome.
Oh, dude, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to get that going and it just kind of helps people out. Like people want to go to the airport all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to bring my family. Like that's our family trip. It's like, well, we can be there at 5 a.m. and put you in one of our larger vehicles and we can get you to the airport.
Yeah.
Super cool experience.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you being
Thanks
here.
for having us.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't think I was a scam.
Yeah. Thanks for not being a scam.
Yeah.